coconut boy. In a small village by the sea, there lived a kind-hearted coconut vendor named Ravi. Ravi was known for his delicious coconuts, which were always fresh and sweet, perfect for drinking on a hot day. Every morning he would rise with the sun, harness his trusty horse, Raju, and set out to collect coconuts from a nearby farm. One fine day, Ravi was especially determined to gather a large haul of coconuts, for he had a special order from a wedding in the city. The bride and groom wanted plenty of fresh coconut water for their guests, and Ravi was eager to make sure the celebration was a success. He made his way to the farm early in the morning and began collecting the finest coconuts, carefully choosing the ones that were just right. After a few hours of hard work, Ravi had gathered a huge pile of coconuts, stacking them high into a large basket. With some effort, he lifted the heavy basket onto Raju's back, making sure it was balanced and secure. He patted Raju's neck and said, "Come on, old friend. We have a long journey ahead of us. Let us make sure we reach the city before sunset." Ravi mounted his horse and began the journey back to the city. The road was bumpy and dusty, winding through the fields and along a small river that sparkled in the afternoon sun. As he rode along, he spotted a young boy sitting by the side of the road. The boy was playing with a wooden toy cart, pushing it back and forth over the dirt. Ravi, always friendly and cheerful, waved to the boy as he approached. "Hello there, young one," he called out. "Can you tell me how long it will take for me to reach the city from here?" The boy looked up, squinting at Ravi with a curious expression. "If you go slowly, you will reach faster, but if you speed up, you will reach more slowly," the boy replied in a calm, almost mysterious tone. Ravi scratched his head, puzzled by the boy's words. What kind of advice is that? He wondered aloud. If I go faster, surely I should reach the city sooner. He shook his head, thinking the boy was just trying to be clever, and decided to ignore the strange advice. "Thank you anyway," he said with a wave, and then nudged Raju to pick up the pace. As Raju trotted faster, the coconuts in the basket began to shake and wobble. The road was full of dips and bumps, and every time the horse sped up, a few coconuts would tumble out of the basket and roll onto the ground. Ravi pulled the reins to stop Raju, hopped down from the saddle and hurried to collect the fallen coconuts, placing them back in the basket. "No matter," Ravi thought. "I will just go a little faster and we will still make it in good time." He mounted Raju again and urged him to go even faster. But the faster Raju went, the more coconuts spilled out of the basket. Once again, Ravi had to stop, gather the coconuts, and secure them in the basket. This happened over and over, with coconuts bouncing and rolling in all directions. Each time Ravi stopped to collect the scattered coconuts, he grew more frustrated. "I should have listened to that boy," he grumbled as he gathered the coconuts for what felt like the 100th time. But how could it make sense to go slower when I am in a hurry? As the sun began to dip behind the hills, Ravi realized that he was far behind schedule. He had spent so much time picking up fallen coconuts that the day had almost passed. The sky was turning shades of orange and purple, and there were still many miles to go. He was exhausted, and poor Raju was growing tired too. At that moment, as he sat on the side of the road catching his breath, Ravi thought back to the boy's strange advice. "If you go slowly, you will reach faster, but if you speed up, you will reach more slowly." The words echoed in his mind. Suddenly, it hit him, what the boy had meant all along. If he had taken his time and gone at a steady pace, the coconuts would not have spilled out of the basket, and he would not have had to stop so many times to collect them. By trying to rush, he had only made the journey take longer. Realizing his mistake, Ravi decided to slow down. He carefully adjusted the basket one more time, making sure it was as balanced as it could be, and then he and Raju set off at a calm, steady pace. This time, there was no rushing, no pushing Raju to go faster. The coconuts stayed securely in the basket, and as the night grew darker, the lights of the city came into view. When Ravi finally arrived at the city gates, it was late in the night. The streets were quiet and the stars twinkled above him. Though he had arrived much later than he had planned, he was relieved to have made it at last, with every single coconut still intact. He unloaded the coconuts and delivered them to the wedding, where the family was still awake and setting up for the morning celebration. The father of the bride greeted Ravi with a smile and thanked him for bringing the coconuts, even if it was a little later than expected. "I'm glad you made it safely, my friend," he said. "But tell me, why are you so tired and covered in dust?" Ravi chuckled and told the man about his day, about the young boy's peculiar advice, the fallen coconuts, and his tiring journey. The man listened and nodded thoughtfully. "Ah, the wisdom of children," he said. "Sometimes the simplest words hold the greatest truths. It seems the boy knew the way of the world better than most." The next morning, the wedding was a grand celebration with music, dancing, and laughter. The guests sipped on fresh coconut water and praised Ravi for the delicious coconuts he had provided. Even the children joined in, playing games and splashing in the nearby fountain. Among them was the very same boy who had given Ravi the strange advice. When the boy spotted Ravi, he ran over with a big grin on his face. "Did you reach the city in time, sir?" the boy asked innocently. Ravi crouched down to the boy's height and gave him a gentle pat on the shoulder. "You were right, young one," he said with a smile. "I learned a valuable lesson from you yesterday. Sometimes going slowly is indeed the fastest way." The boy beamed, happy to hear that Ravi had finally understood. "I am glad you figured it out," he said. "My grandfather taught me that saying. He always told me that rushing around doesn't get you anywhere faster, especially when you keep dropping things along the way." From that day on, Ravi always remembered the lesson he had learned from the boy. He became known as the patient vendor because he never rushed his work again. He would still gather the coconuts with care and make sure they were securely packed before beginning his journey. And when he rode with Raju along the winding roads, he would go at a steady pace, never too fast and never too slow. People often asked Ravi why he no longer hurried, and he would tell them the story of the young boy and the wise advice he had received. "Sometimes, my friends," he would say, "it is not about how fast you travel, but how steady and thoughtful you are on the way." And so, the story of the coconut vendor and the young boy's wisdom was passed down in the village, reminding everyone, young and old, that patience and steady progress are often the keys to reaching one's destination, no matter how far the journey may be.
Join us for the full bedtime stories from our Enchanted playlist on our YouTube channel.